Suppose I were to ask you to pen me a short essay on the subject of poetry. Who among you would not dag at the assignment, though I think it infinitely more agreeable to have one's eyes pecked mercilessly from out their head? Poetry is not a popular medium, as all I'm saying. And yet we are augmented by it, by its bluster and its sheen, conscripted in its azur's bark to bear the outwork of its bare reflection. Like Monsieur Jourdain, gliding to discover he had in fact been speaking prose his whole life, one may with some convincing be evinced, if not with a similar delight, that they too, within the pocket of their own existence, have ended in their speech the speech of poesy. How so, one may ask? Well, it is because language may map onto an aspect of the world, without itself being congenital to this relation, and thus mutable within the sphere of its distension. That is to say, the language may appear as a machine-level interface for expanding one's picture of the world. And indeed, language is only useful in being amenable to that end. But this is only the appearance of things, for language is an organism all its own, and the influences affecting its transformations and general incontinence loosely mirror those affecting more literal biologies. Over time, pressures in the environment cause changes to ripple through our language. Case endings may drop, vowels shift, words furloughed from use. Eventually, the tongue can scarcely compass of its prior form, and may yet bend to modes whose forking paths lead on by venue to some exchange from purchase in its private chord. But at every level, we are enjoined within our own humanity, beyond which we are forced to force some footing against our numinous constraint. Thus, all language is a piece of politic, a measure to admit of mindful metaphor. Yes, there are levels to one strain of melody, and so the simple epithet is not a connate to the sigils of the sublime. At the highest level, one peaks beyond the substance of one's brain, some bare reality, and props one's growth remark inserts in service to a space that gilds and guards its sacraments and shames the fire of one's race. It is a kind of mystical conceit for which the mind must melt in question to unequal force. It is the credulity of Yeats, the misanthropy of Rimbaud, the radical reductions of Pound, or the malignancy of Eliot. In short, it is the folly of Fauré, the inveterate fictions annealed in the odd. What would a poet be without their spectres, haunted at the edge of their sobriety? Only in language can one slip of impropriety transmogrify itself into a sentiment whose face is fastened in its self-regard, and so presumes itself a perfect picture by which the world redounds. So, we are right to gag at poetry. Most of what is written does not show achievement, neither can it be explained. The lion's share of what is poured into our eyes and ears has been distilled with no refinement for a chord, no ear to sympathize its thread to train its symphony. And so it rouses reckless and rapt wind, like rude chorals of belched crud, croaked cold from the bellies of bullfrogs. But if one were to contain their efforts, and deign to ambit in one breath the whole of their vitality into one dominion, what service would win out, and wear its spark, and engrossing in the ruthless earth its port of composition? How might one achieve this? That is the question at the heart of this series. I want to know the limit of human expression, and how that endeavour might shape to some utility for which the greater number can produce. Perhaps some toy of reason may confess one's distance from design, impair one's dull delinquence to an incuriosity in which the greatness of our lives is obstinate. I know not whether one may be so friended, but, barring all disjunction of delight, one must rapture in the face of paradise, and by a wounded rupture of one's gore attain to one's apex, a planet's size, and poise one's self-regard upon its poisoned metal. What wonders will attain from them? Can any grace of metaphor persist without a fateful fall commanded of its spring?